Hi, I hope you all are doing well. Today I wanted to show you how to do a simple pinhole camera that can be used for making a solar graph or for doing a pinhole image that you would develop. And so unfortunately the solar can that I have fully assembled is outside, so it's still capturing the sun trails. So I'm going to show you this peanut can one that I did. Maybe it was almost a year ago now. But it's a very, very simple. So first you want to get something that's light tight or can be made light tight, like a can washed out really well. And then I use wine bottle foil, the foil that's at the top, to make my pinhole, and a safety pin and some black construction paper or poster board paper, and then also the gaffer tape, which is really important because it helps to, not only does it take a layer of your skin off when you use it, but it helps to keep the pinhole secure onto the camera. So, and then also to make it light tight before you put it outside if you're going to be using it as a solar can. So this is one that I did about a year ago. And I took the wine bottle foil and I cut it. So it was this. And I cut it into a square and then flattened it out. And then I make a small hole with a safety pin. You just like stick it, and you don't want to make it too big. So the smaller the hole, the better. So you just really want to like prick it very quickly to make a hole. And then what you're going to do after you make the pinhole is you're going to align it with the hole that you drilled into the can. I'm actually gonna here so you can see. So there's the hole that I had Neil drill. And then you take the pinhole that you made using the wine foil. And first, actually, what you're going to do before you stick it on the can is I like to take a Sharpie, and then where you made the pinhole, you're just going to like color it with the marker. And it's not going to be perfect. It's going to have some reflection, probably a little bit, because this was the only thing I had was black Sharpie. So I usually do a couple of layers and then I let it dry. Then I align it with the bigger hole that's drilled in. So that is the trickiest part, because you have to take it, and then I usually have the camera up and then I hold it up and then I can see a little bit like a tiny pinprick of light coming through, and then I align it that way. It can take a couple of minutes, but once you have it and you have it taped on there, then you're good to go, and you can use the can multiple times. So I would say that's the trickiest part, is lining that up, but then also not making the pinhole too big. So so you'll want to tape it with the gaffer tape on there. So it's gaffer tape, really secure, and it stays on there and in place. And then on the inside of the can, you're going to take paper like this, and I usually curl it a little bit so that it will go into the can easier, but I'm going to use this can as an example. So you have your pinhole, and then what you're going to do is you're going to take the paper and put it in so that it curves around the can. So just like any other camera, what you're going to want to do is make this so that there's no metal at all that where light would be able to reflect off and then get onto the photo paper, which is what you're going to put in next. So the goal then, so you'll see that there's a little bit of metal still around the edge. So what I would do is I would actually just cover that with gaffer tape. There are other people that take like a flat spray paint and they spray paint the inside of the cans. At the beginning of the pandemic, I didn't have that. I did have the black construction paper, so that's what I used. And it actually worked pretty well. I mean, it's not as perfect as if you were to use spray paint, but I feel like it pretty much does the job. So once you have that done, so you're going to get all of the metal part, you're going to get the bottom also. So you'll have to cut a circle from the paper and then put it in there. And then I usually just kind of trace around the bottom to do that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to make a little shutter, which I usually make mine with black construction paper, and then I usually put like a little something on it just for fun. And then I tape it to the front. So this is going to make sure that no light gets in there before you set it outside or inside, depending on what your pinhole project is. And then when you're done, so you're going to then, after you do all that, you're going to put photo paper in there. And so what I like to do actually is to cover the entire inside of the can with the biggest piece of photo paper I can possibly do. And mainly that's because it's really hard to line up the solar can where because there's no viewfinder, so you're trying to aim it to get the sun trails, and that can be very tricky the first couple of times you do it. So I found that the bigger the piece of paper that you put in there, the more likely you're to catch more sun trails. And then also another trick that I learned from someone was that your inclination is to put the pinhole right in the middle of the can, which I pretty much did here. But if you're doing a solar can, it's actually better to put it a little bit lower. And even for a regular pinhole image, because what's going to happen is that it's going to, remember, it's going to be upside down when it's when the paper is capturing it. So it's going to be upside down, and this allows for it to hit more paper, I've found. So so once you put the photo paper in there, make sure not to cover the pinhole part. So when you put the paper in there, you want to make sure that it's around the edge of the pinhole and it's not blocking where the light would come in. And then I can find the, so you'll put the paper in there. You can leave it out. If you leave it out in the sun outside in the summer, there's more light in general, so you don't have to leave it out there as long. But I've found that you just get better light trails that way, and you get more of a tracking image. Last summer I did do an image where it was just 24 hours. I think it was through the smoke. We had a bunch of smoke, and I still had to develop that one. I think I developed in the mint tea recipe, which is also posted on the Patreon. And it just helps the image, the details to come to the surface a little bit better. So you can do that as well. But if you don't want to develop anything, I would leave it out there for, I don't know, at least a week or so. And then what happens is that the sun actually, the light burns into the paper and you don't have to develop the photo paper at all. You just take it out and it looks like this. This was the last one that I pulled from it was actually a soda can that I did. And I did it out in the garden, and it was out there for a little over a month, I think. And you can see that the trees are burned in there. The light, the sun trails are burned in there, and it's really cool. So This one I don't have to develop because it had been out there so long that it was exposed for a very, very long period of time. So anyway, so that's how I make a solar can. I also use the same process, like I said, to do this can I used mainly inside, and is really badly, it was not perfectly light tight at all because all I did was just put the lid on top and that was it. So for this camera, I was doing more or less like 16 hours exposures, 16-hour long exposures inside. And it seemed to work pretty well, actually. The images are very rough, but something showed up, which is always good. So once you make this light tight and you put the gaffer tape on top, the other trick is to find the perfect spot to put it in where nobody's going to touch it, where it won't be bumped. So I have done a few in the garden box because kids tend to stay out of there, and it tends to stay in place. But because the can is so light, you'll need to make sure to put rocks or something to help weigh it down. We had a few windstorms where I was afraid that the can was actually going to blow away because the only thing that I did was just stuck it in the corner and I'd put like a rock on top or something. But since it's not tethered to anything, there was the risk of it blowing away because it's so light. I also did this one and I posted an image online as well. I decided to do a film canister. I'm not sure how well you can see it. Where Neil drilled a hole, again, is closer to the bottom, especially because this is so tiny. And then I just used the same method. This wine bottle foil happens to be black, so it worked out perfect. And I cut it, I aligned it and stuck in there, and then I put the photo paper in there. And it worked pretty well, actually. And this was the first one that I put in a public spot, and it was along the trail here. And I was kind of worried that somebody was going to pick it up and try to guess, you know, what is this thing? But they left it alone. And again, it was only out there for about 24 hours, so it wasn't that long. But I do want to try it again because the great thing about the film canister is that it's already light tight. And it's already blacked out. So you don't have to do anything other than drill the hole and make the pinhole and then load it with photo paper and then just close it. Anyhow, I hope this tutorial was helpful in explaining. I know I've had a few of you ask how I was making the solar cans and you had questions. And so I hope this answers a lot of them. And if you have any other questions about how to make it, or if I did possibly missed a step, which is quite possible, you can email me, and I think you all mostly have my email address, or text or DM. So anyway, I hope you all are doing well and you're getting your shots, and I'll see you soon.